sky. That's another time-consuming one, but I can briefly show you guys how I do that. Do you want me to do that real quick before we move on to image number? I'm just going to show you how I drop in a sky real quick, okay? All right, let me go grab a different image or one that would be suitable for doing that on. I don't think I have one in here. Just a minute. Oh, where is it? Hold on just a minute. I'm trying to find it. Here we go. I think I did one on one of these images here. Okay, hold on one second. Honestly, it's super easy. It's all about masking and using that refine edge box that I showed you guys. Where did this one go? Okay, here we go. I'm not going to do a full edit on this one. I'm just going to show you guys how I drop in a sky, and we'll still do our other two images. And my skies, I've never bought a sky overlay. They're just sunsets that I take. When I see a nice sunset outside, I will run outside and I will take two images of it. I'll take an in-focus image and I'll take one that's blurry and out of focus. Basically, I'll just focus on my shoe, then lift my camera up and take a picture of the sky. So I have an entire catalog. Let me go back over here and I have one called Pretty Skies, where I save my sunsets and random images that I might need to use for dropping in. And I'm trying to remember which one I used on her before. It might have been one of these. I honestly don't remember. I'm trying to find a blurry one. Maybe it was this one. No, it probably wasn't that one. Hold on. I will find it. Oh, which one did I use? Might have been this one. We'll use that one, or this one right here. This one's pretty. I think this is the one that I used. I'm going to go edit this one in. You can see how I took this. Let me just show you real quick. You can see how it's all blurry. I took it that way on purpose because one of the biggest mistakes I see people making when they drop fake skies into a background is that they have a perfectly in-focus sky, and then their background, they'll have trees or whatever in the background are blurry. And so it's like it's got to match up. You have to have a blurry sky if you've got a blurry background. Otherwise, it just looks pretty obvious. So when I take a sky picture, I'll take I'll take some that are in focus and I'll take some that are out of focus. We do get beautiful sunsets here in Arizona. Newborns, do I use lighting? I use all natural lighting on my newborns. You just select her. For this particular image, I did a good selection around her. Hold on. Let me get my sky here first. Okay, I did a good selection around her because I altered the color of these rocks so much that I had to have a really exact selection. So I went in kind of like I did in the fairy image, and that's how I would do this one also. I went in like I would do the fairy image, and I did a good selection around her, and this is crucial for dropping in the sky also. So I'm just going to show you guys dropping in the sky right now. And I can show you real quickly, the masking might not be perfect, but I can show you quickly how I do the red rocks also, if you guys would like to see that. So again, I'm using this quick selection tool, and I'm going to do the best I can to get a good selection around her. And I know it had a hard time around her leg and stuff because her leg right here is very similar in color to this background. So some of this I might have to go back in and kind of do manually. You can see it missed a piece of her foot down here. And this kind of an edit really is a time-consuming edit, so I would not recommend these types of edits for your run-of-the-mill everyday picture. Like if I was doing, that's why I get so, like, I'm so burnt out on shooting in the Valley of Fire, because people have gotten so used to seeing me like crazy pop these colors of the red rocks, and I don't think they realize how much time is involved with pulling these kind of edits off. But it's definitely not, not a quick edit doing these types of edits, because you have to go in here and do what I'm doing right now, which definitely takes some time to get it right. You can see where it kind of missed it right here. So I'm just going in there with the negative quick selection brush and trying to get rid of these areas here. Okay, we don't need that selected either. Masking around hair is a whole new, when you're dropping in a sunset, trying to get it to look right is a whole new ball game there. This, I don't know if it's going to pull this out. Let me try and get this background out of here too so I can show you guys the rocks. Some of this I'm going to have to go in and manually brush in. Okay. That's about as good as it's going to get right now. Let me go in with the Refine Edge tool. I'm going to zoom in really close on our hair so I can see it good. Okay, Refine Edge. Smart Radius, I'm going to go to about a 2 on this one, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this Refine Radius tool. That brush is way too big. Let me get a little brush. And I'm just going to go around the edges to catch all these stray hairs right through here, catch the bits of sky peeking through. And I'm just going to go right around the edge of her hair with that brush. And I know there are probably better ways to do this, but this isn't something I do very often. If I include a dropped-in sky in somebody's image, I might do it to 1 or 2 images just because it is not something that's quick or easy to do. And you can see how that will go in there then once I release my mouse key, and it will go in there and select out those areas of sky. I'm going to go around this too because it totally botched the selection around that. And let me see if I can get it to do a better job in here. Let's go in there and get this. Let's see if we can get it to select that out. There we go. That's not so bad. This doesn't look so good. We're probably going to have to go in there and manually fix that up a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to have to manually do that. Anyways, at this point, let me make sure I got this area right here. Okay. At this point, I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to go to, since I want to select my background and not her, I'm going to go to Select, Inverse, and then I'm just going to save this selection to a Levels layer. Okay. One way to tell if your masking is off, and I will do this sometimes, I'll go up here to this Levels layer that I just saved my mask to, and I'll change it to some crazy blending mode that'll make it blatantly obvious where the mask is messed up. Sometimes like color burn, it's really, really ugly. I'll change it to color burn. And you can go in there now and you can see where it's onto her skin right there. You can see where it, whoops, there we go. You can see where it's onto her skin and where I need to go in there and like fix it up a little bit. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to use a harder brush, about 50% opacity, and I'm just going to go in there and clean that up a little bit so I'm not selecting her skin when I change the color of these rocks at all. I know that was one of the areas it kind of screwed up. I think it did a pretty good job everywhere else. Yeah, there we go. Everything else looks pretty good. So once I've fixed that mask up a little bit or touched it up manually, I can just go back and change the blending mode back to normal. Okay, so first thing, I'm just going to show you guys 2 things with this image. I'm going to show you guys dropping in the sky. There we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just come over here to my sky image, and I'm going to grab it, I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to drop it in, literally drop it in. And I'm just going to kind of place it right where I want it to be at. So right about there looks pretty good. Obviously, this is not looking quite right yet, so we need to do a little work here. First thing I'm going to do is get my mask around her fixed. So I'm going to hit Control. I'm going to click on this mask of her that we just created to activate it. You can see the little marching ants pop up. And now I'm just going to go to Add a Layer Mask. And you can see that we've got a pretty good mask right around her. We'll tweak that a little bit too. The next thing I'm going to go and do is I'm going to manually go in there and take this off of the rocks. So I'm going to drop the opacity of this layer so I can see better. And I'm just going to go in there with a soft black brush. Let me get my brush softened a little bit here, right about down to there. And I'm just going to go in there and take it off right up to about the edge of the rocks. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time doing this. It's pretty self-explanatory what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of taking it off right here. And the reason I have the opacity dropped is so I can kind of see through to the other layer, so I can see where my rocks start and where they end. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs a soft kind of blurry edge back there. There we go. I'm just using a soft black brush. Let me go up here and see if I missed anything. And I did. That doesn't look so good right there. You see any white poking through, I can just kind of go in with a small white brush and just kind of, again, just kind of paint it in there. Just right there. I just want a nice soft transition between the edges of the rocks and the sky. Okay, one problem that pops up when you drop in a sky and when you do this kind of masking is can you guys kind of see that white halo around, especially around the individual strands of her hair? Can you guys see that? That makes it look like she was pasted in there? Okay, I used to go in there and just like painstakingly go in there and by hand mask this junk out, but you do not need to do that. I'm going to click on my mask that I have created right here, and I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, and I'm going to go to Levels. Let me pull that over here so you guys can see it. And I've got this funny looking histogram that popped up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this dark slider and I'm just going to start pulling it in. And you can see that that halo is quickly disappearing. Right about there. And it's gone. The halo is gone. You could even add a tiny, tiny bit of blur to the strands of her hair if you wanted to. But honestly, to me, I think that's a passable result, and I would totally pass that off as a real sunset. And the reason, I mean, people are like, oh, you should bring lighting equipment and just, you know, do it the right way so you don't have to do a composite. Well, sometimes you get the sky, and sometimes the sky is not always that pretty. You can't always count on a good sunset. So if you have an image that you really want to play up, I mean, sometimes you want to drop in something prettier than what was actually there that night, and this is just a way that you can do that. So now that I've dropped in the sky, let me go ahead and show you guys how I would do the rocks real quick. You guys know how much I love levels, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, let's see here. It is, yes, it's a great trick. Just click on that mask, say image adjustment levels, and just pull that dark slide or that highlight slider back. And that's all you need to do, and it'll get rid of that halo right away. It's awesome. So I'm going to play up the color of these rocks a little bit. So we're going to reactivate this mask where she's masked out because I don't want to turn her into some kind of like crazy red, crazy person. So I'm going to hit Control. I'm going to click on that mask, and I'm going to create a levels layer. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to levels, and you can do so much with your levels layer. You want to make them darker, drop your midtones. You know, where obviously it's affecting the sky too, and I'll go and slap that off of the sky here in a minute, but just imagine what I'm doing to the rocks here. I'm going to make it darker. Let's say I want to make it, you know, I'm just adding some contrast to it. Let's say I want to make it more magenta. I don't like quite how orange it is. So I'm going to go into my greens. I'm going to drop my greens a little bit, make it a little bit more magenta. You can see what that does, just playing with that green slider. And it just depends what color you want it to look. Right about there looks pretty good to me. I'm going to go into my reds. I'm going to play with my red slider a little bit. You can see I can increase my reds. I can decrease my reds. I'm going to increase them just a hair. Right about there, 1.02. I'm going to go down to my blues. I'm going to add some blues into the shadows. Right about there. I mean, they look crazy right now. Let me get rid of, I think I added a little bit too much magenta. Let's go with like a 0.96 here. And then I'm just going to go in here real quick and take that off of the sky too, because I didn't really want to do all that nonsense to the sky. So just with a soft black brush, I'm just going to go in there and take that off of the sky. There we go. Another thing you could do, you could add soft light to the rock. So to reactivate the mask on the rocks, I can just hit Control, click, and I'll go back in. I'll make a, well, that works too. I don't know why it did that. Selective color works too. It doesn't really matter which adjustment layer you pull up. I'm just going to change the blending mode to soft light. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the opacity down to like 15 or 20%. And there you go. That's pretty much what I do. I mean, if you wanted to increase the saturation, I would use the curves trick on those tan lines. Yep, exactly. Exactly. I'm sure the recording's going to transfer. I hope I can figure it out. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to. I mean, it says it's recording, so it's got to be recording somehow that I could use it, you would think. I'm going to figure it out. I'm determined. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to saturate these rocks a little bit more too. So I'm just going to Control, click on that mask again, so I'm reusing it again and I don't have to do it again. And I'm just going to go to a hue saturation layer, and I'm going to increase the saturation by maybe a 10. I mean, that's crazy, but you guys get the point. Let me just go back, and I know this image is not completely perfectly edited. Do you guys want to see the curves trick on our arms again? I can go in there and do that. You know what? Since I'm being OCD, we'll get rid of those neck wrinkles. I'm using my favorite patch tool here to get rid of the neck wrinkles here. Nobody wants neck wrinkles. We'll make them go away. Even though pretty much when anybody turns their head that direction, you're going to get them. So, but we're going to get rid of them now because Photoshop will make them go away. I don't mind sharing the sunset skies. I can upload them to Dropbox or something this week. Yes, that's a tattoo she has over there. So I'm not going to get rid of that, but I will try and tone down these tan lines a little bit. So let me go over here. We'll go to our curves trick. I'll just show you guys this again. Figure if you see things a million times, maybe they'll start to make a little bit more sense. So I'm going to go to curves. I'm going to go over here and make sure I'm clicked on the layer. I'm going to go to Properties. I'm going to double click on the top eyedropper, and I'm going to find an area of skin that looks good. So I'm going to go with, oh, let's see here, maybe the color of her skin on her chest, so right about here. And then I'm going to click OK. No. And then we're going to click on the suntan line. And you can see it's darkening it and turning it a little bit different color. So I'm going to go over here to Layers, click on my mask, hit Control-I to invert, and then I'm going to use a 15% opacity brush, white brush, just to mask that onto the the suntan lines, and they will slowly go away. Another way you could get rid of it to some degree using the patch tool, but I really like this method. It does a really good job of stuff like this, and you can see how they're slowly becoming less obvious. So it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. I mean, there's that or that. So anyways, let me go ahead and, I always use 15%. I do, yes. I'm going to go ahead and revert this one. I know it's not a 100% finished complete edit, but you guys can at least see what we did do to it. So that was kind of what we came at. That was my Lightroom edit. This was just had my Lightroom adjustments on it. And then this is color popped rocks, suntan line fix, neck wrinkles gone, and a sunset dropped in. So before and after. And I would still tweak a few other little things there, but it's pretty good. That's a pretty, I don't know, that's a 75% finished edit. So anybody have any questions about what I showed you guys on this? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to X these ones out, and we still have 2 images to go. So let's go over here to Lightroom. And let me get back to the right catalog here first. Yeah, these are all my crazy go out and photograph sunsets that I have. Okay, let me see who gets the next one. David gets the next image. I don't know where my numbers disappeared to. This is very strange. They just completely disappeared. Oh yeah, maybe that's, okay, let's see here. Survey. Does it have numbers up here? View options. I don't know where they are. The image of my daughter with her hand on the hip. Let's see here. Where? Oh, this one right here. Okay. Yes, we can do that one. Okay. So we've got Callista with her hand on her hip. This one was from a few years ago. Is this the right one? Oh, wrong picture. Okay, hold on. Hand on her hip, hand on her hip. Maybe it's third row, 6 in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, that one. Gotcha. Okay. There we go. Yes, we can do this one. Yep, I got it. The gun series, yes. Oh, don't remind me about that. Anyways, okay. So this is Callista out at the dry lake. There were storms everywhere this day. This was also shot with, oh, this was my 85 millimeter. Okay, so this was shot with my 85L. I did not use my 200 on this one for whatever reason. I don't remember why I chose the 85 over the 200, but I did. So it was windy, and there were rainbows in the background, and this was just a fun image to do. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, let me go put it back on import for you guys. Oh, I guess that was import. There we go. All right, so I didn't do a whole lot in Lightroom to this one, apparently. So the first thing I want to do is get the white balance looking right, and it honestly does not look that terrible. In fact, the before and after I can see when I reverted it back to straight out of the camera, it didn't look that bad. Let me zoom in on her eyeballs here. Okay, now my screen's lagging. Hold on one second. Come on. There we go. Oh, I do not know what's going on here. All right, it's acting up. Hold on, I'm going to shut down Lightroom and turn it right back on again. It's acting crazy. All right, Lightroom. Hold on, technical glitch. Give me 1 second here. All right, Lightroom, where are you? Whoops, processes. Goodbye, Lightroom. Every so often something just weird happens. Let's try this again. Hopefully it won't do what it's done to me before. Every once in a while I'll be doing a webinar and it'll revert to like a really old version of of Lightroom. It's so frustrating. Okay, I don't know why it went into that catalog, but it did. Let's go back where we were. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. Where is Callista? Here we go. Okay, I'm going to zoom back in on her eyeballs, and we're going to use the white balance selector on her eyes to see if that will work. And if it's still giving me an issue, I don't understand what it's doing right now. All right, Lightroom. Okay, it's still being a pain in the butt. We're just going to have to pretend here. Okay, so I'm going to click on the whites of her eyes. I don't know why it looks all pixelated like that. And that looks horrible. I liked the straight out of the camera a lot better. So, okay. We're going back to import. I like the straight out of the camera color a lot better than what it did by clicking on the whites of the eyes. I'm not going to try clicking on this dress because the dress itself is actually kind of a cream off-white. So, yeah, let me try that. Let's kill Photoshop. Let me see if that helped. Okay, when all else fails, do this. I'm sorry, guys. Just give me just a second to try and clear this stuff out. I need a new computer, can you tell? I just ordered a new laptop, which I'm very excited to get, but... Okay, Photoshop, you can come back now. Oh, no. Yeah, Photoshop eats up RAM. It saves all these temporary files in there, I think, and that's what ends up doing it. And once I clear it out, and it seems to work a little bit better. I don't know if this is going to help or not. No, it's still acting dumb. Anyways, I'm going to leave the color exactly as it was shot straight out of the camera because I think it looks fine, honestly. So I'm going to go into my contrast. I'm going to add about 5 to my contrast. I'm going to add about 15 to my vibrance. I need a Mac. Everybody tells me I need a Mac, but I'm really stubborn. I don't think when I did my workshop in Tennessee, I edited on the girl that was hosting me. I edited on her Mac, and I couldn't get used to the mouse. It was horrible. I hated it so much. So I'm like, I am never switching to Mac. I don't know how long it takes to get used to that thing, but the mouse is so different. That alone, like, told me I would never ever switch over. I know that's a silly reason, but I don't know. A tablet, see, I'm like, I don't know. Tablet I have thought about using, so it takes one day, really? I don't know. Maybe my next computer. Okay, I will consider it then. I don't know. One of these days I have to replace this beast, but it's such a hard decision. I'm so used to using a PC, it's just really kind of a daunting idea to me. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of luminance to her skin tone. So I've clicked on, I'm not going to give into peer pressure. I know, I'm like an old dog. It's hard to teach me new tricks. So I'm so used to using a PC and a mouse that, like, switching over to anything, it's like I've been doing it this way for so many years. It's just almost an overwhelming thought to even think about switching. So, okay, so I'm clicking on luminance. I'm going to go to my little ball over here, and I'm just going to increase. Oh, this doesn't want to work either. Okay. Well, we're going to increase it manually. I'm going to add luminance to my oranges. I'm going to add about 15 to my orange luminance. Down here, I'm going to add about 20 to my noise reduction. And then I'm going to go into my adjustment brush panel. I know, my Lightroom acting up probably is a sign right now. It only does this to me when I'm doing GoToMeeting, though. I think GoToMeeting interacts with these programs and does some strange things. I'm not really sure what happens here, but every once in a while I'll get these weird little glitches that, you know, happen sporadically. Sometimes they like spontaneously clear up and go away too, so I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to click on my adjustment brush panel. I'm going to make an adjustment brush. I actually like the one that I have set up already. Minus 0.6 exposure, plus 10 to my shadows, and plus, I'm going to go to about 20 on my saturation though, a little bit higher. And I'm going to brush this onto the entire image. And then I'm going to click on Erase, and I'm just going to erase on and around her. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on New, and I think I'm going to saturate that rainbow in the background just a little bit more, just so to play it up a little bit. So I'm going to go to like 30 on my saturation, and I'm just going to brush that onto that little rainbow back here. We'll see what that looks like, just to play it up a little bit more. And I like that. Okay, So I'm going to go out of my adjustment brush panel. This one is not going to be that drastic of a difference because honestly the color was perfect straight out of the camera in my eyes anyways. It looked good. So this was the picture on import, and this is what I'm going into Photoshop with. So I'm going to go edit in Photoshop. Hopefully Photoshop is behaving for me. Please let it be behaving. Behave, Photoshop. Lightroom is being bad. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do here, now we've got somebody that we can clear up their skin a little bit. My daughter would kill me if she knew I had these pictures in here. She's got a little bit of teenage acne going on. So I'm going to go in there with my spot healing tool and my patch tool, and I'm going to clean her up. So I'm using the spot healing tool right now just because it's a little bit quicker. You can change the size of the brush that you're using with the bracket keys that are right next to your P key. So you can just quickly kind of change it to match the size of whatever it is that you're zapping. And I'm just going to do the best job that I can with this right now with the spot healing tool. And it tends to do a pretty decent job. Oh, she would be so mad at me. She's not here right now, though, so she won't know I did this. So basically, I'm literally just zapping away any skin blemishes, imperfections in her skin with the spot healing tool right now. Things like, let me go down to her chin and get that a little bit better here. Things like stray hairs, I tend to prefer the patch tool for those because they're they tend to go over things like eyebrows. If I were to use the spot healing tool, it seems to do kind of funky things. So for stuff like that, I will go in, and that looks pretty good. Again, just using the spot healing tool right now. I'm going to go grab my patch tool now and get rid of some of these stray hairs. I don't mind all these ones that are blowing. It gives a sense of motion, wind, whatever. I'm going to leave those alone, but like these ones going right over here, like over the eyebrow, I don't think that they're serving really any purpose other than to be distracting, so I'm going to get rid of that stuff. And I kind of just work on it in little chunks at a time. This whole blurry hair right here is bugging me. I'm going to circle it, and this one I'm just going to hit delete and enter and let content aware fill get rid of that. Same with this one right here. Delete, enter. Content aware fill does a pretty good job on some of these weird things that kind of, we'll see what it does here. I don't like that one either. Ah, that's not so bad. Content aware fill is also my friend when it comes to stuff like this. So again, just using the patch tool here. And that looks pretty good. I'm not going to clean anything else up right now. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here with my curves trick, and I'm going to go ahead, oh wait, this is bugging me. My poor daughter. I know she doesn't want anybody to see her unretouched face, but she doesn't need to know. Okay, so I'm going to go in and do a curves layer right now to get these under eye circles lightened up a little bit. So go to curves, click over on layers, click on the mask, or on the layer itself over here, not the mask. It will not work if you're clicked on the mask. You have to make sure you physically go over here and click on the layer itself. Go over to properties, double click on the eyedropper at the top, and then I'm going to go right down here and pick an area of color that looks good. So right about there. Okay, no, and then we're going to click on the under eye circle here. I'm going to hit Control-I to click on the mask first, and then hit Control-I to invert it. And then with your white brush, your soft white brush at 15% opacity, I'm just going to slowly go over this darkened area under her eyes. And I'll hit this one over here too. Sometimes you have to do a separate curves layer for each side of the face depending on how much shadowing and highlighting you have got going on. Like depending if one side of the face is like in shadows a lot more than the other side. If it's not, you can get away with just one. But if this side of the face was any darker than it actually is right now, I would probably do a separate curves layer for that side. I'm going to go ahead and drop the opacity of this down to about 60%. I would prefer you guys post it in the Facebook group just so everybody can benefit from the answers. That would be the best way to do it. And I'll send out those invites this afternoon. And hopefully, once I get the video up too, that'll have all the answers in there. But if you guys have questions, feel free to ask them in the group. And that way, when I answer them, if somebody else is wondering the same thing, everybody will be able to see the answers to those questions. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead with that. That looks pretty good. Let me click that layer on and off for you guys. And it leaves the texture. The reason I really like this is it leaves the texture, the natural texture underneath the eyes in place and doesn't mess with it. So next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to kind of highlight her eyes a little bit. So I'm going to create a new layer right down here. I'm going to change the blending mode to overlay. Yeah, I actually, some of the images I actually have uploaded for the group previously. The group's been in existence since I first started doing these classes. And in fact, that fairy image that I did, I have the raw file uploaded with a link already in the group. So you guys can get it and play with it and kind of see what you end up with. So, or you can follow along with the video and try and do it exactly the same, or you can try and put your own touches on it, whatever you guys want to do. And I'm open to uploading other ones too. If anybody has a specific image that they'd like to try and play with, I can upload it. I tried Dropbox, and Dropbox freaked out on me because too many people tried to download it, and they shut down my shares for like a week. So I have it uploaded right now to Mediafire, and I haven't had any problems with that. So. Okay, so I've created a new layer. I'm going to hit D to create or to set my foreground color to black and my background color to white. And then I'm just going to do my method of dodging and burning with my black and white brushes set to 5% opacity. The blending mode is on overlay. And I'm just going to go ahead with the black brush and I'm going to burn the outside iris, or the outside, kind of that darker ring around the iris. I'm going to go ahead and burn that just to darken it up a little bit more. I'm going to hit the pupil. I'm going to hit the eyelashes a couple times, and I'm going to hit the eyebrows just to kind of help frame in the face. And I'll come over here and do the same thing with that black brush, just the outside edge of the pupils again. The pupil itself, the eyelashes, and then the eyebrows. And then I'm going to use the white brush to hit the catch lights a couple times, and then just the colored part of the iris. Go over and get this one. And another way, you know, I showed you guys how you can use two separate levels layer to contour a face. You can also do it right here on this layer if you want to. Like if I wanted to make her cheekbones stand out a little bit different, I could go in and dodge and burn with my black and white brushes. Just to show something different, I'll do it this way, or that way this time. I'm just going to go ahead with my white brush. I'm going to hit the tops of her cheeks a couple times. And then I'm going to go with my black brush and I'm going to go right under here, under the cheekbones, just to kind of add some contrast and contouring. Right under here. And let me click that layer on and off. And you guys can kind of see that that's just playing up and contouring the lighting that's already there. Let me zoom in so you can see better. So it makes a pretty big difference. It's just another way of doing it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a decent selection around her too. I think this one will be pretty easy to do. So I'm going back to my background layer. I'm getting my quick selection tool, and I'm just going to go ahead and select her so I can play with my background a little bit without messing her up. And I think it'll do a pretty good job on this one. Let's see, it might have a problem right back there. Okay, I'm going to use my minus quick selection tool. Which one? Oh, the last layer that I did? Yeah, hold on. Okay, let me zoom in for you guys. Okay, that's with it off. And that's with it on. So that's just that dodge and burn layer that I did. So off and on. Can you guys see that? Oh, it's not showing it? Okay, let me turn it off one more time. Okay, there it is off. Let me let it sit here for a second in case anybody's lagging. Okay, that's with it off right there. And then that's with it on. And you'll be able to see it when I revert the image at the end too. Okay. Let me go ahead and use the minus quick selection tool to unselect this area of background back here. And of course it's having a little bit of problem right through, oh, it doesn't want to do this part. Okay, I'll manually do it because I don't have the patience to sit there and try and get it. Well, yeah, I do. Hold on. You will get this right. There we go. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit better. Sometimes you just have to play with these quick selection tools to get them to behave themselves. There's certain edges I can see why it would be hard to get, but okay, it's going to keep doing that. We're just going to go with it. Okay, so I'm going to go to Refine Edge and get this hair right here. So I'm going to click on Smart Radius, increase my radius to about a 2, and then I'm just going to go ahead with the Refine Radius tool, and I'm going to go around the edges of her hair again and get those stray hairs. I'm just kind of going around all this area where the hair is blowing here. There's a lot of blowing hair. It was windy. It's always windy in the desert. Okay. That's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Go to Select Inverse, just to select the background, basically is what I'm doing, and then I'm going to go to Levels just to save that selection. Now I'm going to change my blending mode to that ugly color burn again so I can go in there and fix that one area that it did not want to select for me back there. Whoops, what am I doing here? There we go. I'm going to make a semi-hard brush and go in there and select this area. You can see right here when you change it to color burn, it makes it very obvious the areas that it's missed. So we'll just go in there and real quickly select that so it does a little bit better job of getting the background. There we go. Okay, that's better. Now we can change it back to a more pleasant blending mode like normal. Okay, so I'm going to make the background a little bit darker and more ominous. So I'm going to control and click on that layer. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a levels layer. You guys will see I use levels a lot. And I'm going to darken that background. I'm just pulling those midtones down a little bit. I'm going to increase my blacks a little bit too. And then I'm going to throw some red and blue into the output. So reds, I'm going to do about a 2, maybe just a 1. And then the blues, I'm going to add about a 5. Oh, that's a little bit too much. We're going to go with a 3. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is add some soft light to my background and to my hair. So I'm going to make a curves layer. I'm going to change my blending mode to soft light. And I'm going to drop the opacity of that down to about 20–25%. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just use a soft black brush and mask that as best as I can off of her skin. I'll leave it on the hair, leave it on the clothing. I don't even mind it on the jewelry. I don't mind it on the background. I like it on. I just don't like it on skin. I don't think it's very nice to the skin. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run portraiture on her. I pretty much run portraiture on all of my teen girls, adult women, and newborn babies. Kids, I don't really run it on. Very, very rarely do I use portraiture on children. So I'm going to go to Control-Shift-Alt-E to do a stamp visible, and then I'm going to run over here and do portraiture on her. And I'm going to, I don't want to add any more warmth. I liked the color of her skin perfectly, but I'm going to add a little bit more contrast. I'm going to go to about a 4 on my contrast. We're going to make this one really dramatic. So I've got my brightness set to 2 and my contrast set to 4. And I'm just going to hit OK. I'm going to go down here to add a layer mask. I'm going to invert it. Whoops. Hit Control-I to invert my mask. I'm going to drop my opacity down to about 45% on this one. And then I'm just going to use a white brush and I'm going to go in and brush this onto her skin. And I know my masking here is not perfect, but it really doesn't matter for something like this. And then I'm going to go back in with a black brush and I'm going to take it off of her eyes and her eyebrows and her nose and her lips. Last thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a basic vignette without any color toning to this one. The way that I'm going to do that is I'm just going to do a curves layer. I'm just going to pull it down right here in the center, make it a little bit darker. I might lift my shadows a tiny bit, so down here, just pull the shadows up a little bit. And then I'm going to use a soft black brush, and I'm just going to, a large soft black brush, and I'm just going to brush this off of her. So it basically just affects the image except for her. And that's how I would do this one. Let me go ahead and revert this one for you guys to see. I just played this one up for a little bit more drama, basically, especially in her skin. I took it from more of a flat image to a more dramatic, kind of dramatically lit looking image. So there was the before, and there's the after. Thank you. I think she does too. She's always been kind of my go-to girl when I have new ideas to try. She's like a teenager now, though, and has her own ideas about these things. And she doesn't play the piano, no. But so there's the before, and there's the after. I know she's got the fingers. She's got my fingers, actually, and it's funny because my mom and my grandma always would tell me growing up that I should play the piano because she's got the exact same hands that I do, and it's not something I ever really got into. So I do sometimes. And another way that I found to add color to the lips is by using that curves trick again. And let me just go show you how you could apply that same trick to doing portraitures of, or hold on, I'm like going off on tangents. You can use curves to add color to the lips, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. That's a good question. Portraiture is a plugin that you have to purchase, but it's pretty cheap. I think it's like $99, and you can download a free trial to decide if it's something that you would use regularly or if it's something that you'd even want to incorporate into your workflow. I used to be very against it, but then I downloaded the free trial, and I loved it, and I ended up purchasing it. I really like it, and it's definitely something that I like using for my seniors and my girls and my adult women. It's great. I really like it. So I'm going to show you. Let's add some color to her lips. And in fact, that's actually a good catch because her top lip is a completely different color than her bottom lip. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to make another curves layer. Click over here on the layer itself and not the mask. Go to Properties, double click on the top eyedropper, and I'm just going to pick a color that I like. And once I've clicked on it, let's say we want to go for something more dramatic. So this is sampling that area. You can make it redder if you want by manually going in here and picking a different color. Let's just use that for this particular one. I'm going to click OK, click on No, and then I'm going to click on this area of her lips that need some serious help. Obviously, this looks horrific, but we're going to go back over to here to our layer. We're going to click on our mask. We're going to hit Control-I to invert our mask. And then we're going to use a soft white brush at 15% opacity, and we're just going to slowly add some color in. And this might be overkill. We can always drop the opacity of this layer when we're done. I'll put a little bit down here. You could do the exact same thing and do it on cheeks too if you wanted to. The possibilities are pretty endless. Obviously, she's looking a little clownish with her lips like that, so I'm going to drop the opacity down to about 50% there. But you can see that it did add a little bit of color into her lips. So it's just another way that you can go ahead and do that. So, does anybody else have any questions about this particular picture? If not, I'm going to go ahead and exit out. And we're going to move over here. And, oh gosh, I'm going to butcher your name too. Okay, Sylvain, I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name wrong because I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. And I know you already sent me your selection and you wanted me to do image number 6, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Was it this one?